I love when I get to talk to the directors and the actors together to kind of talk about the full experience of making this film. So it's such a pleasure. So thank you.
No, I'm so
Thank you for
excited.
having us. Yeah.
I really love kind of the overall tone that was created to tell this story. It felt really refreshing and kind of new, especially for the YA space. Um, I think there's like a certain musicality that is essential for directing in order to kind of achieve a cohesive kind of rhythm, especially when you're combining genres like you did on your film and, shedding light on underground subcultures like racing. Dani and Charlotte, you're both such incredible music video directors. How do you think kind of like the creative possibilities of world building in that medium kind of translate it to your work on this film and kind of gave you the confidence to sort of touch upon these different genres in such kind of a bold, refreshing way?
Thank you. That's such a good question. And I
I
think
know,
it
it's one
was,
of the best questions we've got.
yeah, I was like so thoughtful and articulate.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think for us, we love music videos. We have such a deep appreciation for music videos. We grew up watching so many music videos on MTV, and I think there is such inspiration to be had from the world building. And I think depending on the artist or the song or where it takes you, you can really craft and shape a story where the sky's the limit, and you can be so imaginative about genre and about character and about visual storytelling and language and how you're using that beat or that song and story as a driving force. And so that also comes from growing up on so many great films where we were so connected to the music, specifically in the YA space. I think it's such a great space to break songs and break artists and become so affectionate toward a scene or a character that is really linked to music. So that was something that, when we first read the script for My Fault London, we immediately started thinking in terms of music. We started making playlists for each characters. We started making playlists for different themes in the film, like the holiday in Ibiza or the racing or the romance between Nick and Noah. And that was something that, because of our music video experience, we really have such a visual response to when we hear a song, what we feel and how we can help translate that into our directing. So it was a huge inspirational part of our process that we wanted to carry through within the film.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I miss that. Like, it is so true. Like, I grew up kind of falling in love with movie soundtracks almost as equally as much as the film itself. And then like going to Newbury Comics to like buy the
Right.
soundtracks
Yeah.
and being able to relive your favorite moments from the film through the music is like such a special experience. And Asha, like you're a musician, you have a musical theater background. Like, how was that
Yeah.
for you to be able to collaborate with these guys, knowing that the kind of musicality would be so front and center?
Yeah, it was just amazing. Like, I obviously, music is such a massive part of my life as well. So kind of meeting two amazing people with the same mind for that was just really lovely. And like immediately I was like, send me every playlist that you've made, please. And I was listening to all of their playlists, and I was making my own. But I just always knew that it was in such great hands. And I think soundtracks, like you say, can be such a massive part of movies, and something that, like, especially the kind of, um the audience that we're reaching love so much. And with social media and everything, it's so important to kind of reach people in every way possible. So I was just so excited, and that, impeccable music taste. So I was just thrilled and couldn't wait to like see it all in the film. And I think, such a cool thing having like the songs that you guys put in the playlist, like a lot of them actually making the final movie, and like it being such a full circle. And it was such a nice way for like immediately me to be able to kind of gauge the tone, and like, it's like a second language, I guess, of like understanding what the movie was. So yeah, it was just amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to talk about your performance for a second because I just fell in love with Noah. And what I thought was so cool and kind of beautiful to see is that she's obviously tough. She's badass. She's like a driver. Like, there are all these cool things about her, but you also brought such a beautiful strength and vulnerability to this role, which I think is so essential. So essential for Noah and Nick's relationship, to kind of view vulnerability not as a weakness, and as a strength. I would just love the three of you to kind of talk about that, because for me, it just stood out so much. And it was like I said, it was like, it felt very important to see that.
Yeah, I think like you say, we all thought that was really important. I think it was such a power having, three women sort of behind this girl story. I think that was just so important, and like something that massively drew me to the part and drew me to the project as soon as I found out that these two were directing. Was, I knew that they'd be able to work alongside me to kind of capture that, and how important that would be for everybody.
Yeah, we worked really hard together, the three of us, I feel like, to find opportunities to give Noah more agency as a character as well. And, so often in, films of this genre, or the films that we grew up on, I think there's a bit of like a femme fatale like element of like, but also we've found, there's a lot of examples of the male, co-star coming in and being the hero that saves the day. And in this case, a lot of that is built into the source material, and a lot of that is existing within the story between Nick and Noah, from the books to the Spanish version and so on. So that was so important to maintain that, but to be able to also find ways that, Noah was choosing Nick as well was really important to us. And having her kind of, be able to, like I'd said, make, have these moments of agency.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that Noah's vulnerability is also what allows other women to relate to her in a deeper way. And I think giving both Nick and Noah as characters that degree of vulnerability, where it also is what really allows them to connect, was something that was really important to us to make sure, because Noah doesn't need anybody to save her. Like you said, she's really badass. She can race, she can surf, she can do anything that she sets her mind to. And I think that we still wanted her to feel grounded and relatable within how powerful she is.
We also, the other thing I was going to add that I feel like the three of us had an opportunity to like really talk about, is like, we really wanted to make sure female desire was at the forefront of this film, and being able to work with an amazing intimacy coordinator, and actually coordinating team in certain instances, in certain scenes, but being able to like really prioritize that and feel like there's so many moments, like speaking of the agency that we both touched on, of where Noah comes in and Noah is making the first move, which I think is like so empowering and sounds so simple, but it feels quite refreshing. And it's,
I was going to say, it feels refreshing. And it was the same for me, coming into it and reading, the script and working with everybody in Adelaide and Robbie, our intimacy team. That was something that I was so excited about, and something that felt, exciting and new, I guess. And something that I was, couldn't wait for the audience to watch and see that side of it.
And it feels like they've really, really gravitated to, that Nick literally gets on his knees for Noah when she says, jump, he says how high. And I think that that's something that we don't really get to see with these YA films. It's usually a guy kind of pushing the girl up and saying, I want you, which, we have that in our film as well. But I think then the power dynamic changes, and that was something with our intimacy team. We were really charting the entire graph of intimacy of who wants who at what given time, and how they're asserting their power, and how they're coming together, and making sure everyone felt really comfortable with that.
And it's been really cool, like Char just, touched on, seeing the response to that, like, I think has been really exciting. Like, I don't know if you've spent any time on TikTok in the last week, Meg, but it's really been having a moment, especially. What's been quite cool is to see like a celebration of like, oh, women were behind this for sure, because, of some of that demand, which has been really, I don't know, the ultimate seal of approval from, thousands and thousands of TikTok, unquantifiably so. But I think avoiding that like sort of kind of like shy, like, oh my gosh, like Desire, what is that character? Instead, it's like, of course she wants it too. So, it's very cool in that way, I think.
Oh no, it's the coolest. Like I have it right here talking about the intimacy scenes, because listen, we've actually had a whole podcast dedicated to intimacy on screen. I've done a lot of studying about intimacy on screen, because as I've reflected on my own experiences, as a young woman, what I was watching, how that then, seeped into my brain and made me view myself and my sexuality. And a lot of unlearning has had to happen. Um, and I look at your film and I just think of how grateful I am that you have young women or young people in general being able to watch this and seeing female pleasure put for, first and, front and center. And I think it's like, I don't think people realize just like how impactful that is, and how important it is. And I always clock it. And I was just like, yes, like yes, yes, yes. It's like it can all coexist. We can have the fun moments of the pushing against the wall while also putting female pleasure front and center, while also creating agency. Like this can exist in this space, and y'all did it so beautifully. And it was playful and it was serious and there was laughter and it felt so human, and really an honor to kind of to intimacy, which can be so important to create character connections for plot. It's, um, yeah, it was just like, I was so happy. It truly made me so happy. And I'm so happy that like TikTok is sharing my enthusiasm.
Yes.
I also think it's been really sweet too. I was watching a lot of kind of your press tour. And Asha, you and Matt just seem so comfortable with each other. And you've even, talked about the comfortability. And I can only imagine, Dani and Charlotte, you're a duo. You probably share a brain and you understand more than most how the importance of creative collaboration and like creating comfortability in order to sort of allow creativity to flourish and what that actually means on set, not an idea of it, but what that actually means. Um, I would just love to hear the three of you kind of talk about that and creating a space for creative collaboration and how that allowed you to all really dive into, like you said, this is a beloved, Spanish franchise and being able to like make it your own and really feel comfortable in that, through collaboration and through just creating a safe space.
Right. Yeah. I think one thing that you touched on is because we're a duo, we're so naturally collaborative because that's the only way that we really know how to work because we actually have to have so many more conversations out loud that maybe a director would be having within their own brain. So because we're so used to being so collaborative and communicative with one another, that's definitely the sense of community and environment that we really want to foster with the other people that we're working with on set. So in casting Asha and Matt, we really wanted us to feel like we had this unit, and because we're a duo and then they're going to be playing this duo in the film, that everyone always had somebody to talk to and communicate creatively with, whether it was one of us or both of us talking with Asha or vice versa with Matt or the two of them talking together. I think it was something where we really wanted to make sure that every idea was heard. And with us, it's really, there's no bad ideas and we're very best idea wins type of people because we're a duo and we're constantly hearing each other out and our other collaborators. So making sure that that was definitely at the forefront of our process and how we work.
I think that it was like so lovely coming into a situation knowing that the part that I was playing did completely involve another person, and I knew that I would have to be in a partnership for the whole time, and kind of coming into that with this other partnership was just so beautiful because the four of us just were able to just make a sort of power team, and always, like Shah said, like always have a point of reference and always have someone to go to and talk to, but then the four of us were all just in it together. Like it's the most collaborative process I think I've been a part of, like, and you guys being so used to working with each other was like so amazing to kind of be let in on that and then have that kind of seep into our working relationship as well. I think
I also think all of us, our care and passion for the project transcended our side. Like if you were to really strictly draw out what our roles were, like I felt like we all had this shared ambition. And that was like definitely a part of like when Charlotte and I were hiring our heads of department and we were like starting to build out this team, the idea of everyone having this shared ambition for this movie was so important to us. And I think with Asha and Matt, it's like so clear how we all cared so much about not just our, specifically you guys. I think it's easier to identify like your roles as actors in the movie. You cared so much more about the overall, like, we really took your input on so many things. And I felt like you were creative players on much bigger themes like tone or, music or, I felt like it was very much like we were all, sailing the ship together, for lack of a better metaphor.
Yeah, and it was all of our first movie as well. So
Yeah.
we all, with what Dani was saying, the shared ambition was even more heightened because of that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. And you all should be so proud, of what you accomplished. And it's so true. I think that like we kind of started this conversation talking about tone, but it's true. Like I watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of movies. And you can always tell when you're like, oh, there's a little disconnect happening on set.
Yeah.
In small and big ways. And I think like it's really ambitious what y'all did to sort of bring these different genres in together, to, really make this your own. And you just did it so seamlessly and beautifully, and cohesively. And it just makes sense that it was a collaborative, journey. And I love to hear that. There's nothing better, right, than like doing what you love with people that you love and care about, and it being sort of course, there's going to be bumps along the way. There always are. Making a movie is so hard. It's a miracle, but to know that it was like a joy and that you all felt like you had that, could speak up and could collaborate. That's it. That's the dream.
It's the best feeling. And it's, it feels like, having, like Shar said, the four of us being our first feature like that, this is a very uncommon first feature experience for Amazon to have taken such a swing with all four of us and like been so supportive. And then to, have your very first feature, premiere in the way that it has worldwide. And then, being able to also, we've been talking a lot about the YA audience and how much fun it is to make content for that or make a film for them. To make anything for this engaged and fired up of a base is like so rewarding because you're getting to engage and basically like hear people talk about the movie in a way that I just feel like is a very unique experience.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I gotta get back on TikTok to see.
Yes. It's very entertaining
conversation. I've been in my little silo over here, just like loving the film, and now I want to, hear what other people are saying. But all right, well, I could talk to y'all forever. I would love to just do like a really, really quick little rapid fire. And since we're cherry picks, we call it, sweet and sour. So sweet being sweet, sour being, but sweetest movie soundtrack other than your own, of course.
Oh my goodness.
I know, there's so many.
My brain is just gone blank. Like
I know. Are you like I've never listened to a movie in my entire life before?
I know. I always get like I said, I watch a lot of movies and people will always ask me like, what are your favorite movies of the year? And I'm like, what came out this year? Like,
no idea. My brain is instantly going to musicals, and I'm like, the theatre kid in me is just absolutely. I'm like, La La Land.
Okay, this might be
take one for the
this
team.
might be like low hanging fruit, but Josie and the Pussycats.
Great.
Yeah.
Fab.
That could be everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I would say the soundtrack to Notting Hill is actually such a funny one because, it's a funny one. It's like very earnest, some of the songs in it, but they work so well in the movie.
It's true. That soundtrack is like, that's my go-to, like, I'm feeling down, what movie I'm gonna pop on. And like the soundtrack is a great, Josie,
Gets
that's
really stuck in your head.
but Charlotte, that
Yeah.
one was unexpected, and yeah,
I'm just going to second and third what my amazing bosses said.
I love that.
Cosign.
Okay, sweetest and sourest. We're still debating if sourest is a word. It sounds right.
It does. It's fair. Yeah.
Sweetest and sourest crafty snack.
Oh.
I feel like you're underestimating what crafty is in the UK.
It's not quite.
You're lucky if you get a sandwich at like 4 p.m.
Yeah, it's like you're lucky if there's some grapes for sweet and sour. I don't know.
I think maybe I'm just going to hit you with a tea. Like
I know. I was going to say
you can never underestimate the power of a tea.
A damp tea bag is like where
the sweetest is probably the tea bag, and then the sourest is a cold tea that sat out too long.
True.
Yeah.
So funny. I didn't know that.
I know. I feel like we inadvertently just dragged crafty, but we.
No. You're saying
no,
that,
but
like, yeah, we love different. UK productions, but like we need to. It's okay. We there's room for improvement when it comes to
feedback. Never hurt anybody.
I found out what the word crafty meant maybe like 6 months ago.
Because you're like, that's
so funny.
Non-existent. You're talking about the tea bags, like that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's like a tea table, like a folding table with some tea. That's crafty here.
Okay, let's pivot for a second. I think you're all going to be able. I think you're going to like this one.
Okay.
Sweetest and sourest Nick moments in the film.
Oh. Okay. Take a moment to think.
I know what my sourest is. I'm still shook by it.
It's really if we're going by genuinely sweet, or we're going by
sweet. I think interpret it how you will.
I would say a pretty sweet Nick moment is when Noah throws a drink in his face after he's dancing. I think that's a pretty satisfying moment for the audience that involves Nick. Obviously, he has many moments where he's sweet and tender, but like I would say that switching the definition. And then I would say sourest is when he dumps her on a bridge.
Yeah, I think that's for sure.
Yeah,
I think
all agree, right?
Like this, it's almost more sour the next morning. Like the denial is the most sour part for me.
That is
the
so
way
sour.
The way that Asha played out that breakfast scene the morning after, and the aggression with which she throws the berries into the cereal bowl
and pours the milk,
sums it all up for me. And the glare that you're giving him, and just like the space to breathe on that, is so good.
We honestly got that scene in one take. We were like, Asha nailed it, and here we go. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, and that's when he's sort of like falling for her. I think the way that she. The way that you react to those little moments, I think he's like, yes, throw those.
And stands up against him. I don't know if anyone has ever stood up, any like young woman has ever stood up to Nick in the way that Noah does. And I think that's what really like rocks his world a little bit. I have two sweet moments for Nick. Okay. One is the way, because I've also seen people like sort of catching on to the performances of these, but when he comes into the closet and Noah's having her panic attack, and he comes in and he goes, it's just me.
Yeah.
And his voice goes so high, and it's like so comforting. And then also at the end when, spoiler alert, Noah's dad is holding her up at gunpoint and then is shot. Maybe you could cut this part out, but then he is like collapsing to the ground, and he is pulling her face towards him, and he's going, look at me, because he doesn't want her to see her dad dying. And I think that was like a very subtle discussion. Like that was a very subtle performance choice, but I think a lot of people have caught on to it, which is cool.
They're good ones.
I also think a sweet moment for Nick, for me, is like the whole bonfire scene. I mean, that's very like, the most quintessential like sweet thing, I guess, like that act. And I just love that scene. I think that scene is so sweet in general.
Yeah. And I would say he does, Nick is a bit aggressive and sometimes communicates with his fists, but he usually is punching people who have hurt Noah. Like Tom drugs her Dan is a prick, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
he's trying to honor Noah in the
His
way he
intentions are sweet.
Yeah.
intentions are well
He
meaning.
doesn't realize yet that maybe she doesn't need as much protecting as he wants to give her.
There's a lot of sweet moments, I think, I also love, I have to say too, just talking about subtleties. And a sweet moment for me is when he catches Noah like trying on his leather jacket in
Oh
the
my God, I love that scene.
That's such a
Yeah.
sweet, like, and just the way that y'all played that is really
When Matt and I watched that together for the first time, we were like in this screening room alone, and like the camera's on me, and I was like, why do I look 3 years old in this scene? And then it flips to Matt, and I was like, Matt looks 10. Like, we look so young in that
You
scene.
do. Aw.
It's so little.
innocent moment of like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, and I love that. And it could have gone I was like, oh shit, he's gonna be pissed at her. Like I got worried, like, you know, and the way that he reacts, it's so genuine and like it's sweet. It's very sweet.
Sweet.
There's
Yeah,
so
there's-
much more that we could talk about. Like also like I want to just say kudos for sort of also representing mental health in the way that you do in this film. And not viewing that as a weakness, and that is so beautifully well done. So again, y'all should be so proud of yourselves.
Thank
I
you.
hope that we get the number 2 on this one. I'll be
Fingers
putting out
crossed.
the good vibes, but not
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Cross your fingers.
but this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
It's so nice. Yeah, I feel like we
Yeah.
could talk about this movie forever.
Oh my gosh, same. All right, well, much love, and I hope we can talk.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank you
right,
so
bye
much.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye,
night.
everybody. Bye.